do expect across the day we will hear in particular our colleagues from the United States, Secretary Yellen, talk about proposals and options in relation to this. As your viewers will be aware, earlier on in the week some suggestions have been made in that, both from the United States and indeed from some other European Union countries. This is something that definitely merits discussion and debate, and that is the value of these G7 meetings, because that will happen across today and tomorrow. There are some differing views in relation to it, but at the very, very least it is a proposal that will be thoroughly discussed here today, and debate will be had regarding if there is a way of moving it forward.
While we're discussing all these urgent matters, also the relation between Europe and the UK are a little bit frail right now. The North Ireland Protocol might be unravelled again. So how concerned are you about this move of the new British government?
It is a source of real and serious concern that a development like this is taking place in the context of an agreement that was reached with regard to Brexit between the European Union and the United Kingdom, and as all these other really serious threats to our order and stability develop in the way we have just discussed. But the message of the European Union in relation to this, I'm confident, will be very, very clear. We negotiated a protocol. Within that protocol, there are opportunities for how it can be implemented in a different way or a more simple way. But we have a protocol, we have an agreement, and the European Union expects and wants this to be implemented. And I think it's particularly important to view this in the context of the Assembly elections that happened in Northern Ireland, where there is a clear majority in those Assembly elections for the operation and implementation of the protocol.
So in other words, there is a risk of an escalation here if Boris Johnson's government would move into the direction of opening it up?
The European Commission have said two things in relation to this, and they're handling this in a very serious and very, very credible manner. The first thing they have said is that if we do get to a point where unilateral suspension of the protocol does take place, there will be a response from the European Union that will reflect the seriousness of the situation and the kind of action that the United Kingdom may take. But the second thing they've also said, which is the long-standing view of the Government of Ireland, that of course we want to engage on credible and genuine efforts to resolve some of the issues that we recognise could develop with regard to the protocol. So we'll continue to spare no effort in engaging in this matter. We hope the United Kingdom can do the same, but we do face the prospect of very serious developments in relation to this issue if agreement cannot be reached. But an agreement was reached on the protocol. It was signed by the United Kingdom and by the European Union, and for any party to an agreement to take unilateral action will lead to a credible and proportionate response from the European Union.
Let me bring you back to the economic environment we are currently in. We have very high inflation. We are concerned that we might end up in a recession. So how likely do you think is that stagflationary scenario for Europe and also for your country?
Well, again, as your viewers will know, earlier on in the week the European Union published its latest assessment regarding the performance of the economy in the EU. And what they're indicating as their most likely scenario is an environment in which inflation is increasing. It's inflation increasing at a quicker rate than we would have thought likely maybe a year ago. But it is still an economy within the European Union that is still growing in 2022 and has the ability to grow in 2023. So that growth is still there, but at a lower level to where we would have been before the latest economic shock. So what we need to do within the European Union, and we are, is as central banks reach their view and implement their policies as they respond back to higher levels of pricing, we'll have to have the fiscal policies in place that do deal with the inflationary challenge, but also continue to support growth within our economies, because that is so important in the context of the economic and social effects of the pandemic.
Are we talking here about more fiscal stimulus measures if you say support for the economy?
I think what we are talking about is a different level of support. If you look at the levels of stimulus that we've had in our economies across 2020, 2021, even in the early part of 2022, I do expect that we will decrease that level of stimulus, as now we see our economies in the European Union are fully open, or mostly open, as we've been successful with the pandemic. But then not only will we see a change in the level of support, we're also going to see a change in the nature of the support. And I believe what you will see happen is finance ministers try to get the focus right on supporting those households in particular that are low income, that are really affected by rising prices, to try to help them with the living standard shock that they could face. And we need to get that balance right between not adding to inflationary pressure, but at the same time really helping those who need help. And the way we'll do that within the European Union is in July, in our Eurogroup meetings, we will reach agreement on what the right budgetary policy for the euro area should be for 2023, as the Commission make clear their view regarding the right rule environment for next year too.
Let's talk a bit about real estate as well. I mean, Ireland traditionally had quite a strong real estate market. Is there a concern from your side that this sort of bubble is at risk of bursting?
Well, this is a challenge that Ireland, unfortunately, is very well aware of, due to our great challenges there of over a decade ago. And we are now seeing in Ireland and across the European Union, again, rapid increases in the price of homes. But it's fundamentally different in terms of what is causing this to where we would have been in the run-up to the global financial crisis. In Ireland, for example, this is not happening due to a surge in the level of credit within our economy. Instead, there are two factors at play. We have a very high level of savings within our economy, some of which is feeding into house purchases. At the same time, the supply of homes is far more constrained than it would have been without a pandemic. So in Ireland, and then in talking to my finance minister colleagues, it is all about how we supply homes, get more built, get more affordable homes built quickly, how we do that, as opposed to doing anything with, where we are with the availability of credit.
Are you concerned about a rapid rise in interest rates, and that could affect also the purchasing power of consumers in Ireland across the Eurozone?
Well, the Central Bank of the European Union and other central banks at the moment, are making decisions regarding changes in interest rates, and the Central Bank will make their decision on this matter in the European Union in a few weeks' time. Of course, when you see a change in interest rates and an indication regarding what could happen in interest rates in the future, it does have an effect in living standards. It does have an effect on the cost of living. But this is again where the budgetary response back will play a role. We'll need to get the balance right between trying to help and cushion some households from the changes in interest rates, particularly those households that will be in lower income that may face difficulty, but at the same time supporting those kind of policies that are necessary to ensure that the inflationary pressures that are building within our economies don't become embedded. Because, of course, if that happens, the economic consequences of that and the growth consequences of that are serious too. So that is the kind of subjects we're engaging in here in the G7 and in the EU and in the Euro area. These are the kind of matters we'll deepen our consensus on in the coming months.